Evelyn Harper believed she knew everything about her community. As the long-standing chairwoman of the Crestview Meadows Residential Association, she made it her personal responsibility to know who belonged and who didn't. Every resident, every visitor, every unfamiliar vehicle. So when she saw a black man step out of a brand-new midnight black Bentley Mulsanne in front of the Crestview clubhouse, she didn't hesitate. She called 911. Her voice was calm, practiced, confident, as she reported a suspicious individual driving what appeared to be a stolen luxury vehicle on private property. Then she waited, arms crossed, certain she was doing exactly what her position required. But when the patrol car finally arrived and Officer Reynolds stepped out, greeting the man with, "Good afternoon, Mr. Cole," Evelyn's confident expression began to fracture. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have imagined, was that Nathaniel Cole wasn't just wealthy. He was the managing partner of the investment firm that now owned the clubhouse, the parking lot, the common grounds, and the land beneath every home she believed she controlled. And her phone call was about to cost her far more than her pride. The early afternoon sun washed Crestview Meadows in warm light. The gated community sat just outside Dallas, known for its manicured lawns, strict rules, and residents who valued order above all else. The clubhouse parking lot was nearly empty. 2 staff vehicles, a white sedan belonging to maintenance, and Evelyn's pearl gray Mercedes parked neatly in the space labeled Association Chair. Nathaniel Cole guided his Bentley into a visitor spot near the entrance. The engine whispered to a stop, the car's presence announced only by its flawless finish and understated elegance. The chrome detailing caught the sunlight as if deliberately refusing to be ignored. He had just finished a meeting downtown with his legal and finance teams and decided to stop by Crestview to review paperwork related to a recent acquisition. He stepped out of the vehicle, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit, leather briefcase in hand. At 42, Nathaniel had built a reputation in private equity and real estate acquisitions, quietly assembling a portfolio that stretched across multiple states. Crestview Meadows was one of his firm's most recent purchases. Few residents were aware of the ownership transfer. Fewer still understood what it meant. Nathaniel walked toward the clubhouse entrance, his attention already shifting to the documents waiting inside. He didn't notice the woman watching him from behind the glass doors, her lips pressed thin, eyes sharp with suspicion. Evelyn Harper had been chairwoman for 8 years. She prided herself on vigilance, on control. And she knew, without a doubt, that she had never seen this man or that car before, not once, which meant something was wrong. She stepped outside, heels striking the pavement with deliberate authority, phone clenched in her hand. "Excuse me," she called out sharply. Nathaniel stopped and turned. His expression was neutral, composed. "Yes?" "I'm Evelyn Harper, chairwoman of the Crestview Meadows Residential Association. I don't believe I've seen you here before. Are you visiting a resident?" Nathaniel's gaze flicked briefly to her phone, then back to her face. The tone, the posture, the assumption. He recognized it instantly. "I'm here on business," he replied calmly. "Business," Evelyn echoed, one eyebrow lifting. "What kind of business?" "Property-related matters." "Property matters," she repeated, skepticism heavy in her voice. "And whose property would that be?" Nathaniel paused. He could end this now. He could identify himself, show proof, watch realization wash over him. But the entitlement in her stance, the certainty that she had the right to question him, made him wait. "I'm reviewing documents connected to this community." Evelyn's expression hardened. "I'm the association chair. Any business involving this community goes through me, and I don't have any meetings scheduled today." Her eyes drifted to the Bentley. "That's a very expensive car," she added. "What do you do for a living?" The question hung in the air, heavy with implication. "I work in investments." "Investments," she repeated slowly, as if testing the word for flaws. "And you decided to just drive that," she gestured dismissively toward the car, "here without clearance?" "The clubhouse has office space available. I wasn't aware I needed permission to use it." "You're not a resident," she shot back. "I know every resident here. You're not one of them." Nathaniel slipped one hand into his pocket, the other steady on his briefcase. "Is this how you usually greet visitors?" "I welcome legitimate visitors, but I take security very seriously." She raised her phone slightly. "So I'll ask again, who exactly are you here for?" "I'm not here to see anyone. I'm here to review property documents inside the clubhouse." Evelyn's face flushed. "That's not how this works. You can't just show up in," she waved toward the Bentley again, "something like that and claim you have business here. For all I know, that car could be stolen." Nathaniel went still. "Stolen?" "It happens," Evelyn said, her confidence growing as she spoke. "Luxury vehicles are targeted all the time, and you don't exactly look like someone who could afford one." There it was. Nathaniel met her gaze, his voice calm, but his eyes no longer warm. "And what does someone who can afford a Bentley look like, Miss Harper?" She hesitated, then hardened. "I'm calling the police," she said. "They can verify your story." "You're calling the police because I'm standing in a parking lot?" "I'm calling the police because I'm a suspicious individual in an unverified vehicle on private property." She was already dialing. "Hello. Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious person at Crestview Meadows. Black male, approximately 6 feet tall, driving a luxury vehicle that may be stolen. I believe he's trespassing." Nathaniel listened in silence, watching her manufacture urgency, watching her convince herself she was protecting something. When she ended the call, he asked quietly, "Are you sure you want to do this?" "Absolutely. The police will be here shortly. Then we'll find out who you really are." Nathaniel nodded once. "All right." He walked to a nearby bench and sat down, placing his briefcase beside him, posture relaxed. Evelyn remained standing, arms crossed, phone still in hand. The tension lingered in the air as the distant sound of sirens began to approach. The patrol car rolled through the gates less than 4 minutes later. Blue and red lights cut across the manicured lawns, reflecting off polished windows and the Bentley's flawless paint. A few residents, drawn by the flashing lights, began drifting toward the clubhouse entrance. Phones were already coming out. Officer Daniel Reynolds stepped out of the cruiser. Early 30s, calm posture, observant eyes. He scanned the scene quickly. Woman standing rigid with her arms crossed, man seated on a bench beside a luxury car, posture relaxed, unreadable. Evelyn moved first. "Officer, thank you for coming," she said, her voice sharpened by vindication. "This man is trespassing. He arrived in that vehicle," she pointed sharply at the Bentley, "and claims he has business here. I believe the car may be stolen." Reynolds nodded once, then turned his attention to Nathaniel. "Sir, did Miss Harper ask you to leave the property?" "No, she called you before we reached that point." Reynolds turned back to Evelyn. "Ma'am, can you explain the emergency?" "He doesn't belong here. He's not a resident. He showed up in a luxury vehicle, wouldn't provide proof of who he is, and claimed he had business inside the clubhouse." Nathaniel's tone remained calm. "You never asked for identification. That's because your story didn't make sense, and I'm responsible for security here." Reynolds glanced at the Bentley, then back at Nathaniel. "Is that your vehicle, sir?" "It is." "And you're here because—" "I own property in this community and intended to review documents inside the clubhouse office." Evelyn let out a short, incredulous laugh. "That's impossible. I would know if he owned anything here."
Reynolds' expression tightened slightly. "Ms. Harper, I need you to step back and let me do my job." Her face flushed, but she complied, retreating half a step. Reynolds returned his attention to Nathaniel. "May I see your identification and registration, please?" "Of course." Nathaniel rose unhurried and retrieved his wallet and documents. Reynolds examined them carefully, then keyed his radio. The response came quickly. "Everything checks out. Vehicle registered to Nathaniel Cole. No flags." Reynolds handed the documents back. "Thank you, sir. I apologize for the inconvenience." Evelyn stared at him. "That's it? You're just going to believe him? For all we know, he's lying about owning anything here." "Miss Harper," Reynolds said, patience thinning, "his identification is valid, the vehicle is legally registered, and he hasn't committed a crime." I paused, then added deliberately, "Filing a false police report is a crime. I suggest you choose your next words carefully." Silence spread through the parking lot. Nathaniel picked up his briefcase and stood. "Officer Reynolds, thank you," he said. Then he turned to Evelyn. "I think it's time we continue this conversation inside." "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said quickly, but the confidence in her voice was gone. "Then we'll have it right here, in front of everyone." He took a breath, not to steady himself, but to claim the moment. "My name is Nathaniel Cole. I'm the managing partner of Cole and Avery Capital." A murmur rippled through the growing crowd. 6 months ago, my firm acquired Crestview Meadows from its previous ownership group. That includes the clubhouse, the common areas, and the land beneath this community. Evelyn's face drained of color. That's not possible," she whispered. "We would have been notified." "You were," Nathaniel said calmly. 3 letters, 2 emails, 1 registered delivery. He pulled out his phone, scrolling. Initial notice sent January 12th, follow-up February 1st, final notice March 3rd, all addressed to the association chair, your email, the one listed on your website. He turned the screen toward her. Evelyn stared. Recognition hit her all at once. "I get hundreds of emails. Stuff gets missed." "Certified letters don't," Nathaniel replied. "They were signed for by your assistant." A woman standing near the clubhouse entrance shifted uncomfortably. "They're in the office, Evelyn. I gave them to you, all of them." Phones were recording now. Whispers turned into murmurs. Nathaniel looked around at the residents. The notification requested that the association inform homeowners of the ownership change and schedule a community meeting. According to our records, that never happened. A man stepped forward from the crowd. "Are you saying you own this place?" he asked. "My firm does," Nathaniel answered. "Your homes are still yours. What changed is who oversees the common areas and the association agreement." He paused, then looked directly at Evelyn. "You had 6 months to address this. Instead, when the owner showed up, you called the police and accused him of stealing his own car." The words landed hard. Officer Reynolds cleared his throat. "Mr. Cole, do you wish to pursue charges for a false report?" Evelyn's eyes widened in panic. Nathaniel didn't answer right away. He looked at her, really looked at her, and then at the people watching, recording, listening. "Not yet," he said. The crowd held its breath. "But this conversation isn't over."
The silence that followed was heavier than the accusation itself. Officer Reynolds remained near his patrol car, one hand resting casually on his belt, eyes scanning the small crowd that had formed. Residents stood in clusters, some frozen in place, others whispering behind raised phones. The atmosphere had shifted. Whatever authority Evelyn Harper had once commanded was gone. It had drained from her posture, her voice, her certainty. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. Nathaniel broke the silence. "I'm not interested in pressing charges today," he said calmly. A visible wave of relief passed through Evelyn's face. Her shoulders sagged slightly, as if she believed the worst had passed. "But I do want this incident fully documented," Nathaniel continued, "in case it isn't an isolated one." Officer Reynolds nodded without hesitation. "I'll file a complete report." Evelyn's relief vanished just as quickly as it had appeared. Nathaniel turned toward her. "This isn't about punishment," he said. "It's about accountability." He took a step closer, not threatening, not confrontational, but deliberate enough that she couldn't look away. "You didn't call the police because I violated a rule. You didn't call because I was uncooperative. You called because you made a judgment the moment you saw me." "That's not fair," Evelyn said weakly. "I was protecting the community." "From what?" Nathaniel asked. The question echoed in the still air. "You didn't ask my name. You didn't ask for identification. You didn't ask who I might be visiting. You didn't check your emails. You didn't check your mail. You didn't verify anything." His voice remained level, but every word landed with precision. "You saw a black man in an expensive car and decided something must be wrong." Evelyn's hands began to tremble. "Do you understand how dangerous that is?" Nathaniel asked. She shook her head slightly, tears forming in her eyes. "People have been hurt. People have died in situations that started exactly like this. A phone call, an assumption, someone deciding they were the authority on who belongs." "I didn't mean it like that," Evelyn whispered. "Intent doesn't erase impact, and authority doesn't excuse it." The crowd was completely silent now. An older man stepped forward from among the residents. "Miss Harper," he said quietly but firmly, "you owe this man an apology." All eyes turned to her. Evelyn swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I made a mistake. I should have asked questions. I should have checked my records. I apologize." Nathaniel studied her for a long moment. "I don't want your apology," he said finally. "I want you to understand what you did." Her breath caught. "You used your position to target someone based on assumption and bias. You weaponized law enforcement against someone who was doing absolutely nothing wrong." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm not interested in ruining your life, but I am interested in making sure this doesn't happen again, to me or to anyone else." Officer Reynolds cleared his throat softly. "Mr. Cole, just to confirm, you're not pressing charges at this time?" "Not today," Nathaniel said, "but I want transparency moving forward." Reynolds nodded. "Understood." Nathaniel turned to the residents. "I'll be inside the clubhouse for the next hour reviewing association records," he announced. "Anyone with questions about the ownership change or the association's future is welcome to speak with me." Several residents exchanged looks. A few nodded. One by one, people began moving toward the entrance. Nathaniel looked back at Evelyn. "I'll need the association's financial records and meeting minutes from the past 6 months," he said. "I expect them on the desk within 10 minutes. "Yes," she said quietly. "Of course." As he walked toward the clubhouse, the crowd parted without being asked. Evelyn remained where she was, shoulders slumped, mascara streaking down her face, phone still clutched in her hand, the same phone she had believed gave her power. Inside the clubhouse office, Nathaniel set his briefcase down and surveyed the room. It was well organized on the surface: clean desks, neatly labeled cabinets, framed certificates on the walls. But in the corner sat a stack of unopened mail bearing his firm's logo. He walked over, flipped through it, and shook his head. He made a call. "We need a full audit," he said quietly. "Financials, procedures, everything. And schedule a community meeting. this week. After he ended the call, the older man from the parking lot appeared in the doorway. "I wanted to apologize," he said. "What happened today, it doesn't represent everyone here." "I know, but it reveals a system that wasn't being questioned." The man hesitated. "Some of us have had concerns for a while." "About her leadership?" "Yes." Nathaniel nodded slowly. "That changes now." As the sun began to set, Nathaniel packed his briefcase and walked back to his car. The parking lot was nearly empty. He paused before getting in, glancing once at the clubhouse. Evelyn stood in the window, watching him leave. She looked smaller now, exposed, stripped of the authority she had worn so confidently just hours earlier. Nathaniel drove through the gates and merged into traffic, his thoughts heavy. This time he had the documents, the lawyers, the power. But he couldn't stop thinking about the next person, the one who wouldn't. And that was why this moment mattered.